Video 3, Installing Offset Electric Wires for an Electric Fence. This video will show how to install offset electric wires for marking the post and placing up insulators, as well as stretching up high tensile wire. For this fence design, we will be installing 3 offset wires to this existing fence to deter bears. We will be adding wires at heights of 50 inches for our top wire, 22 inches for our middle wire, and 8 inches for the lowest wire. The first step will be to mark your wire heights on each post in your fence where you will be installing the insulators. You can use a tape measure for marking the post at the appropriate heights, or for easier marking, you can use a pre-marked post or a marking stick with the heights pre-marked on the stick to use as a guide. Hold the pre-marked post up to your fence post and use a marking pencil to mark the heights for the insulators. Go around the entire fence line marking each post. Next, we are going to install our inline insulators. We'll be using wood post insulators for all our inline posts and using screws to secure them to the post. You can also use nails and a hammer, however screws and a drill can really speed up the process. To install an inline wood post insulator, hold it up to the post at the wire height for your offset electric wire. Using 2 screws and a drill, secure them to the post. Add insulators at each height on the post for your offset wires. In our case, we're adding insulators at 8 inches, 22 inches, and 50 inches for our 3 offset wires. Repeat for all your inline posts around the fence. After you have installed your inline post insulators, you're ready to install the end post insulators and pay out the wire. For installing the end post insulators, the method will vary depending on what type of insulator you will be using. In this fence design, we will be showing how to use wraparound insulators on our end post. For tools and supplies for this step, you will need wraparound insulators along with a hammer and fencing staples, as well as high tensile wire. To start, install the first end post insulator at the beginning of where you will start your first wire strand. Wrap the insulated tubing around the end post and secure it in place with a fencing staple, just being careful not to puncture the insulated tubing. Slide the end of the high tensile wire through the insulated tube and pull enough of the wire tail out to wrap the insulated tubing and wire back around the post. Use the tail end piece of the wire, go around the post and secure it back to the main line of wire, using wire tying techniques or a Nico press sleeve or tap for a more permanent connection. For more detailed instructions on tying off wire on end post, along with using alternative end post insulators such as bullnose strainers, visit the additional tools and techniques page in this video manual series. Once you've secured the wire end to the end post, you are ready to pay out the first line of wire. Wire spinning jennies can be helpful to pay out wire, especially on larger fence projects. We have a wire jenny loaded with a spool of high tensile wire. To pay out the wire, you can secure the jenny in one place on the ground at one end of the fence line and use a stake to secure the jenny in one place on the ground. Then pull the wire out by hand, running it along the distance of the fence section. You can also use an ATV or vehicle with the jenny secured to the back to pay out the wire. We have our spinning wire jenny on the back of our truck and we've secured it in place to ensure it won't fall out. Drive slowly along the fence using a payout spinner. String out a line of wire running parallel to the fence. Drive slowly, watching for any wire tangling or getting caught up on obstacles. When you get to the end of the fence section or where you want to end the line of wire, there are 2 options to choose from. One, before cutting the wire from the wire spool, you can go back to the beginning of the line where the wire starts at the first end post and go down the fence line, placing the wire into the insulators along the fence section before you cut your wire from the spool to ensure you have enough line. Alternatively, you can wait to place the wire in the insulators and first tie off the wire to the end post, just making sure to leave enough extra wire to have loose enough to place into the insulators afterwards. To end the first strand of wire, following the same steps for installing the end post insulator, Staple up a wraparound insulator and run the wire through the insulated tubing and tie back off to the wire strand, securing with wire tying techniques or a NitroPress tap or sleeve. Add another wraparound insulator to start the next wire strand and repeat the process until all wire lines are strung up along the fence line. After the wire has been strung out and tied off at each end, place the wire into the insulators along the whole fence line. Now that the wires have been strung up and placed in insulators, it's time to tighten each wire strand. For tightening the wire, we will be using inline wire tighteners. You will need a wire tightening bar along with the wire tightener for each strand of fence wire. The ideal location for using inline tighteners are to place them somewhere in the middle of the section of wire to pull evenly from both ends as the wire tightens. To install the wire tightener, pull the pin placeholder out. Place the tightener over the wire along the opening. Using the tightening bar, place the end into the center and turn it in a counterclockwise motion slowly, wrapping the loose wire around the tightener. Make sure to keep the wire that's around the tightener centered as much as possible as you turn the wire tightens. Tighten the wire until it has sufficient tension, but not over tightened to strain the end post. Do not loosen the grip on the wire tightener as the tension from the wire can cause it to unwind. Once the wire is tightened, place the pin holder back in place, guiding the pins through the holes to secure the wire tightener in place. Now that we have finished stringing up the wire and it's tightened around the whole fence, next we need to add the offset wires to our gates. Check out video 4 in this manual series for electrifying gates.